Here we are again, a detour to our private, secret path to discuss the latest in my biocognitive thinking. So we're moving on. It's a quiet, very lovely autumn day in Tennessee in the contemplative forest. There's your bench. You're getting used to it by now. You just sit here and enjoy and relax. Today, the topic is how to break bad habits. And you know that you're doing something repetitive that's not good for you. People tell you it's not good for you. And you try to intellectualize your way out of it. You try to reason your way out of it. You try to punish yourself out of it, and it doesn't work. Does it mean you're not intelligent enough? Does it mean you don't have enough willpower? No. You're intelligent and you're strong. It has to do with not knowing the right neuropsychological tools to get out of it. You're not born with habits. You learn habits. You learn habits. When you were born, you only had reflexes, and habits are learned. And although they have some kind of dysfunction, in that they keep you away from anxiety, or you get pity from other people, or it has some value, but that alone is not enough to get rid of it. You have to go to the brain. How do you learn a habit? It's a part of the brain that's called the default mode. That's the part that stays on when everything else turns off, when you're daydreaming, when you're not paying attention, when you're planning for the future. That's the default mode. And the default mode, the regions of the brain, work on repetition, habitual behavior with context. You notice habits always happen around a particular context. So knowing that, you know that you have created a default mode interpretation that gets you to do something repetitive, even though you don't want it anymore. So how do you get rid of it? First, you're aware that it's there in the default mode. When you're not paying attention, your habit is going to be ruling. So you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, I'm going to become aware of when this habit comes on, whatever it is that you're doing. And then the moment you become aware, you stop and you realize that you're in default mode. You're in automatic pilot. You stop, you take a deep breath, and look around and find something of novelty, something you haven't noticed before. A dirty spot on the wall, or a painting that you haven't noticed a part of that's interesting to you. Anything that has novelty. Immediately, when you find novelty, you get out of default mode and you go into mindfulness. So you do that, and you keep looking around, and you keep finding things around you that are discovery, novelty, new. And as you do that, then you ask yourself, what can I do that fits the purpose of the habit? So if the habit is saying, poor me, like look what happened to me, or if the habit is taking a drink without thinking, whatever it is, it has a dysfunction, which is, look what happened to me, poor me, that's looking for pity. So you find a way to find self-compassion. If it's a drink or a drug to alleviate your anxiety, your loneliness, or just by habit, you find ways to replace that. Not think it, replace it. But it can't happen unless you break out of the default mode. In fact, for example, with addictions, dopamine is what causes that craving. And dopamine is highest when you're craving. When you get to a drug, the dopamine drops. So it's just an urge. And you cannot get out of the urge when you're in default mode. You have to come out. And the way to come out, it may seem very simple, but it's some very complex neuropsychological processing going on here. When you get out of yourself and that inner part, and you start identifying the world and novelty, you are forcing the default mode to give way to the parts of the brain that can reason, and then could make the changes that you need. But the habit needs to be replaced with the behavior. If you don't replace it, you go right back to the habit. And when you catch yourself, be like Sherlock Holmes. Be excited that you're a good detective, and then do the technique. You stop, you breathe, you look for novelty around you, and replace what you were doing with something that has value for you. You do it gradually. Within a few weeks, habit is gone. I'm oversimplifying here, and I would hope that you, if you need professional help, that you seek professional help. Read my books and all that. But the point is that that is the bottom line of how to change it. It's so simple, it seems like it's not possible. But if you practice it and you become aware that you're in default mode, and you come out of default mode and you take action, then you're going to see that the habit is no longer functioning because the repetition goes down and the contextual connection gets weaker and weaker. So try it and let me know how it goes. More to come. Now back to my walk. And this walk is not a habit, this is a routine. So there's a difference between routine and habit, but that's for another contemplative walk. Enjoy.